Lazy workers playing on their computers are fired. The new CEO, 59-year-old James Smith, is incompetent, to say the least. He's so technologically challenged that he can't even make copies without calling for help. Naturally, everyone, including myself, thinks he's the worst. He doesn't even try to understand my work as an engineer and called me a lazy thief. Understood. James changed company policies on a whim, making the workplace unbearable. I lost any desire to follow him and accepted my firing as he demanded. The day after I quit, he bombarded me with calls. Apparently, there was an error in the management system I created. He ordered me to fix it, but I gave him a condition in return. My name is John Williams, 42 years old. I'm the only system engineer in the company, responsible for the management system. We're a small business and perpetually understaffed. While we are grateful for client requests, the lack of hands means constant overtime. I plan to talk to James about broadening our recruitment soon. However, as if to interfere with me, the sales department keeps dumping work on me. Add this option, hurry up because the deadline moved up. They push their demands without considering the burden it places on me. When I joined the company, there were many engineers. I was a newbie following my seniors, but before I knew it, they all quit, leaving just me. The loneliness of losing colleagues was less burdensome than handling all the work alone. Around this time, we were informed that the CEO would be replaced. The current CEO was resigning due to age, and the new one was 59-year-old James Smith, the former VP. This morning, James showed up at our meeting and greeted us. "I'm James Smith, the new CEO. Let's work hard to grow this company further." His condescending tone was off-putting, but I hoped a new CEO might mean more engineers. I quickly approached him to discuss it. "James, I have something to discuss." "Who are you?" He looked at me suspiciously. Even though we hadn't met often, it was hard to believe he didn't recognize me after over 10 years at the company. "I'm John Williams, the engineer. Have you forgotten?" "Engineer? Do we even have such a department?" James looked puzzled, glancing upward as if deep in thought. It was shocking that he genuinely didn't know about the engineering department. "I've been developing our management system. You really don't know me. I've always focused on sales, so I know nothing about computers." As the VP, James was busy assisting the CEO and traveling, so he forgot about me. Despite feeling forgotten, I pressed on with my request. "Currently, I'm the only engineer here. If this continues, the workload will become too much and efficiency will drop. Can we hire more staff?" I expressed my urgent need, but James frowned and shook his head. The previous CEO instructed me to increase profits. Hiring more staff would just increase labor costs. "But if we hire even one more engineer, we can handle more work." Even after being rejected, I couldn't give up and continued to plead. However, James, annoyed, waved his hand dismissively. "Enough, I'm too busy since I just took over. We'll discuss this later." With that, he stomped back to his office. To be fair, he had just taken over as CEO. The burden of being entrusted with the company by his predecessor must be immense. I decided to wait and approach him again when he had settled in. However, it became clear that James couldn't even handle a computer or a copier properly. One day, he called me to his office saying, "My computer is broken, fix it." I didn't touch anything, it just broke on its own, fix it. He insisted it wasn't his fault before I even had a chance to ask. The desktop screen was black, and pressing the keyboard did nothing. "See, that's why I hate computers, they just break without warning." "Okay, let me take a look." I checked for issues with the peripherals. Within a minute, I found the problem. Looking down, I saw a cable unplugged from the outlet by James's feet. It must have been accidentally kicked, causing the power to go out. I picked it up and showed it to him. Look, it was just unplugged. Plugging it back in, the power instantly returned, and the computer worked perfectly. Realizing it was his mistake, James's eyes widened. "If it's fixed, then you're done here. Get back to work." After being kicked out of his office, I glanced at a trash can in the hallway, and his face popped into my mind, making me kick it reflexively. James clearly had little experience with computers and was very technologically inept. So, how did he manage to work and get promoted? He was a former salesman. In his younger days, he met his quotas through outside sales. Thus, he often said that office work involving computers was a task for his subordinates. On another day, James called me over, and it turned out he wanted me to make copies of these documents for me. Making copies is something you can do quickly on your own. "Shut up, the latest copiers and I don't get along, just do it." He handed me the papers roughly, and I reluctantly stood in front of the copier. Being called for such trivial tasks, especially during work hours, made me sigh heavily. "Why don't you ask someone else, Mr. VP? Why did you call me?" I asked James while loading the documents into the copier. He was reading a racing newspaper with a red pen tucked behind his ear. "Because you seemed less busy. You're the only one who sits all day typing on a computer." "What?" I couldn't hide my confusion at his response. "My job is to develop the company's management system and security software. Despite the unreasonable demands from the sales department, I always manage to meet deadlines. Thanks to my efforts, we've avoided customer complaints and maintained the company's reputation." Yet, it was shocking that the CEO, James, didn't understand my work. "Are the copies done?" "Yes, it's done. Here you go." I took the original and the copies from the copier and handed them to James. But without even looking at them, he gestured with his chin to place them on his desk. After confirming that my task was done, I left his office. When I talk to a colleague I often see in the hallway about James calling me, he sympathized with me. That CEO has been making other employees make copies and process data on the computer too. Seriously, it's a problem for a CEO to be so bad with technology. It seemed that everyone was aware of James's incompetence, so I wasn't the only one struggling. That gave me some relief, and we laughed tiredly. We thought things would get better with a new CEO. Yeah, the old CEO was better than this. Joking, we parted ways, and I went back to my desk. Everyone knew James was incompetent and hoped someone else would take over soon. But our wishes weren't going to be granted easily, and James made things worse. No need for remote work. Working from home is just being lazy. Everyone must come in, even during a hurricane. Previously, our company had adopted remote work during a widespread virus outbreak. I worked from home for a while, and it was surprisingly convenient, saving commute time. But James viewed remote work as slacking off and ordered everyone to come to the office regardless of circumstances. We strongly opposed this. "Why are you cancelling remote work? I saw on TV that some young people are working from home in their pajamas. I won't allow such laziness in our company." James was trying to change the company policy based on what he saw on TV. It was unbearable that his arbitrary decisions were increasing our burden. Then an employee with children spoke up. "I have 3 small kids. Thanks to remote work, I could take care of them when they were sick and still get my work done. Leave the kids to someone else. Hire a nanny or something." "I don't make enough money to hire a nanny." James got angry at this and yelled loudly. "Low pay is due to your lack of ability. Don't blame me." From then on, James ignored all employee appeals and changed policies at will. His selfish actions made all of us, including myself, distrust him. I began to think that if things got any worse, I might have to leave this company. To protect myself, I started carrying certain items from the office with me. It was just in case, and I hoped I'd never need to use them. Feeling the discomfort at work, I'm rushing to meet deadlines again today. I thought I could finally finish on schedule and enjoy a nice Friday. But just before leaving yesterday, a salesperson dumped more work on me. They instantly agreed to a client's request for new features. And they added, make sure the deadline stays the same, leaving me to work late while everyone else went home. Damn it, why does this always fall on me? It's Friday, and I have to work overtime. I grumbled, but didn't protest, because I would get overtime pay. Even if my working hours extended, thinking about the extra pay made it bearable. The main reason I stay at this company is that they pay for overtime. Engineer friends at other companies complain about not getting overtime or being banned from working extra hours and having to work from home. Compared to them, my company might still be decent. However, with James changing policies lately, the future was uncertain. Next week was the first payday since James became CEO. I looked forward to this day as a reward for all my overtime efforts. Finally, payday arrived, and the payslips were distributed. Excitedly, I checked my amount and was shocked. Why is it less than last time? Looking around, I saw employees happily discussing how they would spend their pay. Frustrated that my payslip showed no overtime pay, I headed straight to the CEO's office. But first, I checked the items I carried with me before confronting James. James, why is there no overtime pay on my slip? I raised my voice, but he continued reading the newspaper, uninterested. Irritated by his indifference, I snatched the paper from him, making him visibly annoyed. Because you're just slacking off. What? He grabbed the newspaper back from me. You stay late every day just to get overtime pay, right? His smug look gave me chills and made me furious at his lack of understanding. Excuse me, but I work overtime to ensure client satisfaction. Providing a secure management system is our company's strength. Hey, you're working late because you're slow at your job. His mocking laugh infuriated me even more. Let's say, for argument's sake, that I'm at fault, but legally, you must pay overtime. I pushed back firmly, but it didn't seem to affect James, who just laughed at me again. What happens if I don't pay a slacking employee? Think I'll get arrested? Maybe not arrested, but your reputation and the company's will surely suffer. Hearing this, he frowned. So, please review my overtime pay immediately. I slammed my payslip on his desk. I thought if I pushed this hard, he'd reluctantly agree. As long as they paid me properly, I wouldn't complain. Though there might be tension between us, fair compensation would settle it. But his next words made me lose all hope. There's no money to pay someone who plays around on the company's dime. What? I was shocked and speechless at his response. Despite working overtime for the company's sake, he showed no intention of understanding. You call yourself an engineer, but you're just someone who knows a bit about computers. Anyone in another department could do your job. What? I'm in charge of our company's system. But James stood up from his chair with a stern face and pointed at me. You are fired, you lazy thief playing on the computer. At that moment, I felt all my feelings for the company vanish. Understood. To him, my work seemed like play. Who would follow a CEO who doesn't understand his employees' work or pay them fairly? Thank you for everything, goodbye. I picked up my payslip and nodded to James. Wait, are you really okay with being fired? He seemed taken aback by my calm acceptance. I'll stay through the month to complete the handover. With that, I left his office. After that, I spent my time handing over my responsibilities to trusted colleagues and prepared to leave the company where I had worked for over 10 years. My co-workers, though sorry to see me go, gave me a bouquet on my last day and saw me off. While it was good to sever ties with James, it was frustrating not to receive my rightful pay. I regretted not pushing harder to get my overtime pay. But the day after I quit, my phone rang incessantly. Seeing an unknown number calling since the morning felt eerie, so I ignored it. However, after 10 calls, I got annoyed and decided to answer to give them a piece of my mind. Stop being so persistent. Whoa, don't yell at me. To my surprise, it was James. James, what do you want? Come to the office right now. He sounded frantic and was rushing me. Why? I'm no longer needed there, right? Just hurry, your colleagues are saying they need you. It seemed not only James but the other employees were panicking too. Worried about them, I grabbed my bag and headed to the office. When I arrived, I found everyone glued to their computers and overwhelmed with phone calls. John. As one employee noticed me, everyone turned towards me at once. John, please help us. What happened? I calmed them down and asked them to explain from the beginning. The issue arose this morning, the day after I resigned. A problem occurred in the management system, and the employee I had entrusted with the handover tried to handle it. The management system contains crucial information, including customer data and detailed records of our products. If this information were to be exposed and misused, it would be disastrous for the company. It was a problem that could be solved quickly with calm handling, but James's meddling worsened the bug when he tried to fix it himself. An error not covered in the manual occurred, and no one but me could handle it. If the issue remained unresolved, there was a risk of data leaking, which would severely damage customer trust. To prevent this, all the employees were manually transferring customer data to another file. Just as I finished hearing the situation, James showed up. Oh, you are here. As you can see, no one else can handle this. Fix the computer quickly. It's embarrassing to ask for help from someone who resigned, but we have no one else to rely on. Please help us, John. With both James and the employees pleading for my help, I thought for a moment and then said, "Then I'll demand compensation for wrongful termination and my unpaid overtime." What? I glared at James and held out my hand. It's convenient to ask for help after firing me. Since you're responsible for the dismissal, I demand $10,000 in compensation. James broke into a cold sweat, visibly shaken. All the employees turned their gaze to him. Why should I pay you? You were slacking off. He insisted that I had been neglecting my duties. I've never slacked off, and if I had been negligent, we would have received complaints. I glanced at the sales team in the corner of the room, who awkwardly looked away. They just said yes to clients' demands and dumped all the work on me. Despite handling deliveries for several companies alone, I never received complaints. That's how seriously I took my work. Firing me was a mistake in your judgment. What? You ended up in this situation because of your incompetence in understanding engineers. James panicked as everyone's eyes were on him. Apologize for calling me a lazy thief and agree to the compensation, and I'll fix the problem. With this ultimatum, I thought he would finally agree. If he did, I could help the employees immediately. However, lazy thief, I never said that. He smirked, belittling me once again. Stop making me out to be the bad guy. I see. So you're still trying to dodge responsibility. I sighed at his refusal to acknowledge his actions. I told you, unpaid overtime is a legal issue. That's only if it's true. Got any proof? James smirked at me with a nasty grin. He thought I was bluffing, which made him confident. But I had something in my shoe that could shatter that confidence. I do have proof. What? I took out a voice recorder from my bag. When I considered changing jobs, I brought it to work in case something happened, keeping it in my suit pocket to record immediately if needed. Of course, I recorded my conversation with James on the day he fired me. When I showed the voice recorder, he tilted his head. What's that? An old cell phone? It's a modern voice recorder. It can record conversations at the push of a button. I turned up the volume and pressed play. As the conversation between James and me played, the employees began to murmur. Upon hearing his voice, James's face turned pale, and he stared at the voice recorder. The recording ended with James's words, "You are fired, you lazy thief," playing on the computer. I began to hear the whispers of the employees. That's terrible. John is an excellent engineer. Playing on the computer, the CEO spends all his time reading horse racing newspapers. They glared at James with complete contempt. There was no way he could talk his way out of this. I decided to push even further. I took a stack of documents from my bag and showed them to James. These are printouts of my time cards. They clearly show my working hours and overtime. I can submit these to the Labor Standards Office and sue you. The Labor Standards Office? If it was found out that he wasn't paying overtime, the office would investigate, and the company would be scrutinized. This would undoubtedly expose James's incompetence as a CEO. Sweating profusely, James struggled with what to do. I don't care what happens to the company, you fired me, remember? As I smiled, the employees surrounded James. James, please agree to John's demands. If we leave this issue unresolved, things will only get worse. Pressed by the employees, James muttered reluctantly. Fine, just wait a moment. He rushed to the nearby bank and handed me the compensation and unpaid overtime. Confirming it was about $12,000 in total, I pocketed it, and James grabbed my arm. I've met your demands, now fix the system quickly. Got it. I started the computer and quickly accessed the management screen. Locating the error, I fixed it in no time. Within minutes, the management system was restored, and I spoke to the employee handling the handover. The error can be easily fixed. I'll email you the steps later. Thank you so much. The employees praised me enthusiastically. John is amazing. He fixed what no one else could in an instant. I'm used to dealing with these issues, but being praised this much made me a bit embarrassed. Wait, is John really that good? Of course, he is our only engineer. They looked surprised, with fingers in their mouths and wide eyes. Perhaps even James finally realized the importance of an engineer. But with the compensation received, my job here was truly done. Now that my work is finished, I'm leaving. No more incessant calls, please. James glared at me with a sullen face. I have no more use for you. Get out. As he spat out these words, the employees' faces hardened, glaring at him with resentment. Before leaving, I addressed them. If you have complaints, don't keep them bottled up. Sometimes it's important to speak up. I gave them a thumbs up and left the company. Later, I was helping a friend with their work while looking for a new job. Finding a new job in my 40s was challenging, but I had a few prospects through my friend's connections. Feeling confident about a smooth transition, I received a surprising message from a former colleague. Surprisingly, at the shareholders' meeting, James was voted out. After I left the company, someone informed the major shareholders about the system troubles. They also raised issues of James's neglect of duty and the Labor Standards Office's investigation, along with a petition signed by all employees demanding his removal. The petition was fueled by strong opposition to James's decision to force me out after I resolved the trouble. As a result, James was ousted due to the lack of trust from the employees. Moreover, all executives who supported James were also dismissed, effectively replacing the entire management team. Now, when it came to the next successor, the employees wanted to nominate me. When a former colleague told me this, I was shocked. Me, the CEO, no way, there's no way a former employee can take on that role. I immediately declined, but other employees unanimously insisted that I was the right choice. The shareholders also highly valued my efforts in saving the company during the crisis, and surprisingly, they all agreed. However, I'm just an engineer. The system trouble was merely within my area of expertise. I'm not suited to be a CEO. While I was happy to be praised, I politely declined the employer's offer. But the next day, the employers came to my house, begging me to return to the company. John, you tried multiple times to negotiate with James to uphold the company's policies. You're the only one we can trust to lead. Please, let's work together again. Their desperate pleas almost swayed me. I appreciate you coming here, but I really... Just as I was about to refuse, one of the employees said, James is no longer with the company. This is our chance to improve the workplace." That's right, James was fired. The reason I accepted being fired was because I didn't want to follow James. With him gone and the opportunity to rebuild the company, I could create a better working environment. "We'll support you, John, so please come back." Moved by their enthusiasm and the hope of rebuilding the company from scratch, I returned and became the new CEO. Incorporating the employees' opinions, I revised the company's management policies and established a new structure. Utilizing my experience as a former employee, I succeeded in improving the workplace environment and conditions that had previously caused dissatisfaction. As a result, the workplace became much more comfortable than before. Now that I'm the CEO, the pressure is immense, knowing the employees' livelihoods depend on my leadership. However, I have a strong team, and the company thrives because of its employees. It's impossible to generate revenue on my own. Grateful for their trust and support, I'm determined to improve our performance. Afterward, a major reorganization took place, and we posted job openings to increase staff in understaffed departments. The recruitment resulted in many experienced candidates, and we began interviews. As CEO, I was waiting for the final interviews when the HR manager approached me. He handed me a resume with a confused look on his face. As soon as I saw it, I burst out laughing. "This is James Smith." The name James Smith was written on the application, along with his photo. James, who was fired, had applied to rejoin the company. Given his bad reputation as CEO, he should have been eliminated in the initial screening, but he slipped through by mistake. Asked what to do, I immediately ordered, "Get rid of him." I didn't know why he thought he could come back to the company he was kicked out of, but he no longer had a place here. I hoped he would give up and look for another job. After finishing all the interviews for the day, I was about to return to the CEO's office, when an employee rushed over in a panic. "John, it's urgent. James is trying to force his way in." What? He was supposed to have been sent away, but it seemed he had come back. Before the situation escalated, I headed to where he was. When I arrived at the entrance, James was arguing with several employees. "Let me in, I'm the former CEO. Please leave." Seeing the employees struggling to handle him, I stepped in and spoke up. James clung to me, pleading, "Please, let me come back to the company." "Calm down, James." I tried to calm him down and asked why he came for the interview. "I was fired, but I want to fulfill my duties as CEO again. It didn't go well before, but this time I'll regain everyone's trust." Seeing James's determination, I exchanged glances with the employees and gave a wry smile. James stared at me, puzzled, and muttered, "Wait a minute, I thought I fired you, Williams. What are you doing here?" Now that he was calmer, he seemed confused about my presence. An employee, clearly annoyed, spoke up on my behalf. "You're being disrespectful to President Williams." "President Williams?" James blinked in surprise, looking at me repeatedly. I gave him a polite smile and replied, "Yes, I've been reinstated as the new CEO after you." "What?" James stepped back, looking betrayed by his former colleagues. "Do you plan to return as CEO? You should give up on that idea." Seeing the shock on the face of the man who had belittled me felt surprisingly satisfying. "You're not hired, but I wish you success elsewhere." I told James to leave the entrance, but he clung to me, almost in tears. "Please, John, I have nowhere to go. I'll work in administration or sales. Just hire me." "You can't even handle a copier. You look down on people, and you disrupt the workplace. Who would hire someone like that? Leave now," I said firmly and called security. "Wait, I was wrong. Please forgive me." James begged for forgiveness, crying, but the security guards escorted him out. Afterward, he went to numerous interviews but was rejected every time. He now lives by doing day labor jobs. Although he had some assets as the VP, his wife divorced him after he was fired, taking more than half of his assets as alimony. As a result, his savings are nearly gone, and he needs to find a better paying job soon or face a deteriorating lifestyle. Even now, he slacks off when no one is watching and gets fired repeatedly. The consequences of always pushing work onto others finally caught up with him. And he must be thinking, if only I had worked more seriously, this wouldn't have happened. Realizing his folly near retirement age is already too late. On the other hand, since starting the new venture, my performance has improved, and I succeeded in establishing a branch office. Moreover, having risen from an engineer to a CEO, I started getting interviewed by business magazines. In this way, my reputation gradually increased, and we gained more business partners, eventually seeing the possibility of expanding overseas. No longer a small to medium-sized business, we joined the ranks of major corporations. I continue to work hard for the employees who had trusted and followed me.